Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome back to Acres of Diamonds. And as I said, this is the long-awaited interview, intimate talk, conversation, call it what you want, that we wanted to have with our brother, Dr. Umar Johnson. He is officially live in the studio. And we're prepared tonight to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. All the guests in the studio are more than welcome to ask our brother questions. We had a brief little talk during the break, and Dr. Umar said that he's open to talk about the things that are on the mind of Black America. Call us up early in the show if you like. Telephone number is 215-490-9832. 215-490-9832. If you are joining us via the different outlets where you can hit us, I encourage you to go to the TuneIn app. Go to the TuneIn app and click Time for an Awakening. Click that. You can hear us. You cannot see us. Tonight, we're so deep, I said, let's do this, Troy. Let's just put the spotlight on our guests. We only work with one single camera to be on our guest tonight. And he is here in the studio with us. We are so very happy and excited to have our brother with us. All the way from
Philadelphia, North Philly.
Where are you from now, man? I know you're traveling all over the world. I used to say the country. People say, you know Dr. Umar? I said, man, I've been knowing Dr. Umar for a mighty long time. So he just got back from Japan, London, Dubai.
You name it.
You name it, he's been there.
That's what's up.
But what he's been doing, he's been preaching and speaking Black love and Black empowerment to our people, and we are so very happy to have him here with us. And I want to ask the first question, if I may, because people have been texting me, they've been inboxing me, they sent me an email. You got to ask him about the school. What's the update with the school? When is the school opening up?
Good question. Number one, on Frederick Douglass's birthday, my kinsman, that's February 14th, I'll be doing an official Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy School announcement. So I'm not going to go too deep in it, except to say that they should probably be tuned into my Facebook and my Instagram on February the 14th. I don't know what time I'm going to broadcast it yet, but it'll just be a special 1-hour announcement to let folks know where the school is going to be, how they can participate, how they can support. But also along with that, the school will be the headquarters for an organization I started back in 2005, the International Movement for the Independence and Protection of African People, which is a Pan-Africanist movement. So I will be giving a rebirth to the Team Pan-African movement, and the FDMG building will be our headquarters. So for brothers and sisters who may not have school-aged children, who may not necessarily be looking to teach, they can still come and help us organize on a grassroots level. One of our biggest issues as a people, we're not organized. We're not organized at all. Black men are not organized. That's why we keep on being persecuted the way that we are. Black women are not organized. That's the way they keep on being victims of misogyny and other things the way that they are. Black parents are not organized. That's why our children are constantly suspended, detended, special educated, psychiatrically medicated, juvenile incarcerated, and prematurely exterminated. Black teachers are not organized. It is amazing as an educator, as a principal, as a school psychologist, that we don't have a National Black Teachers Union. I don't know of a population that probably suffers more racism and discrimination than Black teachers. But most Black teachers are still members of the historically racist white teachers unions. Here in Philadelphia, we have the Philadelphia Federation of Teachers, a white racist teacher union. So they take your dues money, they claim to represent you, but at the end of the day, they don't fight for Black teachers the way they fight for white teachers. And it's just amazing that we don't have a National Black Teachers Union. So under the umbrella of Team Pan-African, we're going to be doing a lot of things to actually help our community and focus on issues that we've ignored for a long time. With that being said, I got to say this because it's on my mind. Today is the day chosen by the United States government to honor the legacy of Dr. King. I am very disappointed that we have allowed the white power structure of this country and the Black bourgeoisie. And Philadelphia probably has the most powerful Black bourgeoisie in America. In fact, if you're not aware, the Boule was started in Philadelphia by W.E.B. Du Bois and others while he was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. So when you deal with the Coon Illuminati, the untalented 10th, the black bourgeoisie, the gatekeepers, Philadelphia probably has one of the strongest groups of black gatekeepers in the country. The black bourgeoisie is very much in control here. Now, with that being said, I don't like how Dr. King's birthday has been remixed into a day of colorblind solidarity. Right. How it's been remixed into a day where you go out and clean up your community, which I'm not against, but there's unions who receive $1 million contracts to clean up the streets that tax dollars are paying for. So why is his birthday being used as an opportunity to get free labor out of black youth? Okay, the same black youth that can't even find a job in the city, by the way. Okay, Dr. King was not martyred for being colorblind. He was not martyred for cleaning up communities. He wasn't not martyred for integration. Dr. King was murdered for one thing and one thing only: economic justice and redistribution of the wealth. That's why Dr. King was murdered. Not for holding hands for white folk, but trying to get black people their piece of the economic pie. Let's remember him and honor him the right way.
Now, I agree. I heard that what you said. Now, I always really contribute why Dr. King was killed, slain, murdered, because he spoke out against America's participation in the Vietnam War.
That was part of what caused him to fall into ill repute with the power structure. But that's not what got the trigger pull. That's not what got the trigger pull. There were a lot of very powerful personalities, leaders, organizers, athletes, and entertainers who protested the war in Vietnam. Right. They didn't like him for that, but that's not what got Dr. King murdered. What got Dr. King murdered was the breadbasket campaign, when he decided that in the fall of 1968, he was going to take millions of unemployed and homeless, black, white people, every color, every culture. They were going to march on the mall in D.C., and they were going to erect a tent city of poverty in front of the White House. And they were not going to leave until everyone left with a home and a job. This wasn't one day. This was forever until we all leave with an opportunity. That would have embarrassed the United States government that makes of living, of advocating for capitalist opportunities for rich corporations around the country where poverty is rampant. So for Dr. King to show up on the mall in D.C. saying, wait a minute, you're talking about other countries and how they treat their poor. Look at how you treat your own. Wow. That would have been an international public relations disaster for America. And that's why he had to die.
Okay. That's deep.
Jay, you want to...
Well, I mean, I got a whole studio full of people now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to share.
You trying to share?
I'm trying to share.
All right, so everybody jump in. I want to jump in.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right, so, when we as a people come together and we're, I guess you would probably say we're fooled into doing things the way, the majority or the dominant culture would have us do it, such as celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Day. So let's move ahead to the future when your school is open. How are we going to celebrate, or would we celebrate? Or would it be a continuous celebration? How would you even acknowledge Dr. King?
One of the things for me, and I study traditional African spirituality, one of the things for me that we do celebrate ancestors individually, but we also celebrate them collectively. Our ancestors are a potent force that Almighty God created to be at our disposal. And so it's not just a matter of celebrating Dr. King, it's about celebrating all of them who contributed to where we are. However, we will celebrate Dr. King. Dr. King is the last. Let me say it again. Dr. King is the last. Let me say it one more time. Dr. King is the last national black leader you have had in America to give us a serious, organized, protracted, measurement-based movement for change in America. No one since King has given you that. Jesse hasn't given you that. Al hasn't given you that. Tremendous respect for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He has not given you that. The Urban League has not given you that. The NAACP has not given you that. Rainbow Push, the National Action Network. King was the last one to say we're going to fight for economic justice. We're going to fight for political justice. And he gave his life. No one else has given us, well, Malcolm died before King. I said since King.
Okay.
You got me? Since King. So here you are, as of April 4th of 2018, last year, 50 years since his assassination. And you ain't had a leader come even close to doing. I'm not talking about speeching.
Right.
I'm not talking about preaching. I'm not talking about marching. I'm talking about a observable movement of change where evidence can be proven.
Right.
King did that. The Civil Rights Bill didn't save us, but at least he fought for it. The Voting Rights Act didn't save us, but at least he fought for it. At least he gave you a tangible. And one of the weaknesses of the black conscious community today, if I may say so, as one of his spokespersons, is that we are very high on the philosophy, very high on the ideology, very high on the history, but there's no practical action. The biggest difference between black consciousness today and in the 60s is in the 60s, it was action-based. H. Rap Brown was action-based. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, action-based. The sit-ins, the Freedom Riders, SNCC, Core, Stokely, you name it. They may have disagreed with each other, but they were action. It was about what are we doing? We flipped it now. Now you don't have to do anything. It's all about what are we going to discuss. And don't get me wrong, the discussion is necessary. The meeting is necessary, but where is the action? I say it all the time and I'm going to say it again. Information will never save you. Only organization will. The Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, leader of the largest black organization of all time and the only mass black leader to never take a dollar from another race. He said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. He said the white man ain't doing what he's doing to you because he's stronger than you or because he's better than you. He out-organizes you. The Chinese in Philadelphia out-organize us. The Italians out-organize us. Why is it in South Philadelphia, in the Italian neighborhood, they can roll up to their street, and if they don't have a parking spot, they can park right there on the street, no ticket. If you do it in the black neighborhood, you're going to get ticketed. What's the difference? They are organized, and so the police know they can't get away with that.
Wow, you just touched on quite a bit, and that last part about nobody has stepped up to do anything.
But
They just
talk. But talk.
Just talk. That's all we keep hearing talk. And I think I've been talking to quite a few people about that. Why are we on the show? And I mean everywhere. Why do we just talk? Why was it? Martin Luther King was the last person that actually made things happen. Why are we still talking? Why are we still having these symposiums and these caucuses and all that and gatherings? And we're going to sit and talk
You
about
still need the discussion. So we don't want to throw out the discussion. The problem with the discussions is 90% of them are financed by the people you got to fight.
Right.
You go to a conference on mass incarceration, and then you find out a week later that the private prisons paid for the conference. You go to a conference on how to deal with disruptive behavior in black boys, and the next day you find out that the psychiatric drug companies paid for the conference.
Right.
So it's not that we don't need meaningful conversation. The conversations that are being had are not controlled and financed by us. We don't control the narrative. That's how Dr. King's birthday gets remixed into cleaning up the streets. It gets remixed into holding hands with white folks. You never get a conversation on economic justice because we're not the ones controlling the narrative at these conferences. And a lot of that has to do with the fact, and this is also a big change since the days of King, most of our community-based organizations are funded by the white power structure. It's a significant contradiction. The reason why you can't get nowhere is the people that's fighting for you are paid by the people they're supposed to be fighting.
Right.
That doesn't even make any
And
sense.
That reminds me, when we were in college, we met in college at Temple. We were fighting for WRTI. We met in radio. And WRTI, of course, was owned by Temple, but it was all jazz, straight ahead jazz. And at some point, classical station wanted to take over. And so now it's half jazz, half classical. And the reason wasn't because they wanted classical, it was because we were trying to play Dr. Mumia, we were trying to play his tape.
Wow.
So we had the actual tape that he made in prison, and we're like, what do we do? What do we do? We're gonna play it. We're gonna play it. So we barricaded ourselves in the studio and put it on. They were saying they're gonna take us out. They wasn't gonna let us graduate. That didn't happen. We had immunity because we were students. But my point is, at the time, we had to ask Temple to allow us to protest, them telling us that we couldn't play the tape, that we couldn't have all jazz all the time. And oh man, we had a brother, I can't remember his name, maybe you do, Troy, who told us, you don't ask your oppressor for permission to protest him. And it's just the mindset that we're in as a people. Like, we think that we have to ask to be free. We think that we have to get permission to be who we are.
But the reason you're asking for permission is you don't want to suffer the sacrifices that will come from not asking.
Right.
So it's not that we got to ask them. It's that, listen, I got a $103,000 Mercedes I'm driving. You understand? I got a $250,000 house out in the suburbs I don't want to lose.
I'm not one
And that segues into why we haven't had those leaders or followers, because you got to have both. Dr. King came at the right time. He was a leader who came at the time people were ready to follow. Marcus Garvey, same thing.
To really lose too. I mean,
Oh, yes.
It wasn't. This is now.
They diversified the levels of oppression. You just hit on it, Queen. What do I mean by that? During Dr. King, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us, right? We would have all been in the same neighborhood. He may have been a lawyer. I might have been homeless. He could have been an alcoholic. He could have been an engineer.
It is all black.
But guess what?
That's right.
You had to coexist with each other because Jim Crow kept you out of anything white folks was doing. So there was no diversification of the oppression. Whether you had a PhD or a GED, we were the same. After Dr. King, they would change that. One of the first things they did, they decided that they would reorganize black leadership so that they would control it. They decided that we would deliberately fund the black organizations to control them. Former President George W. Bush in the year 2000 took this to another level when he found a loophole in federal law that allowed him to not only fund black organizations, but fund the black church. If you want to know why the black church has been missing in action, and I'm going to say masjid too, you got bougie Muslims like you got bougie Christians. It ain't none of them doing nothing systematically to help black folks in Philly. I don't care who don't like it, but it's the truth. They all sit at that table. So when I say black church, I'm talking about all of them. Okay? Now, when he found a way to start funding them, you notice how you don't see churches at the forefront of police genocide? Why you don't see churches at the forefront of mass incarceration? You don't see churches at the forefront of unemployment, churches at the forefront of miseducation. Where is the black church? We are 19 years into the 21st century. The black church isn't playing a major role in anything that affects blacks because they're being paid to sit by the sideline. The revolution will not be financed by your oppressor.
On that note, let's do this. Let's take a commercial break. We're going to take a break. You are listening and watching Acres of Diamonds. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. I would keep it going with that same momentum.
Yeah, is his mic on now? Because I don't want to be able to get
I think we just passed.
You want to check?
Just pass. No, I don't think it's on.
Pass the mic like
Pass the
Beastie
mic.
Boys.
Check it.
That's
Tap
let me
into
just
it.
check it real quick.
You hear that, Troy?
Not yet. No, it's not up. You got to
not
pop it
up.
up.
The Insurance Masters Total Risk Management is a full-service insurance agency dedicated exclusively to providing insurance solutions for our valued clients in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. As your locally owned and operated insurance agency established in 1993, you can take comfort in knowing our experienced staff of professionals is only a phone call away in true times of need. Save more on auto and home insurance when you partner with the Insurance Masters, located in West Philadelphia at 5930 Haverford Avenue.
215-476-7000. 215-476-7000.
His mic still didn't go up? Yo, what the hell kind of night is this tonight? Everything.
FBI might have got you.
Sheesh.
FCC, baby. They run the whole thing.
I don't know if I'm hearing you test.
Testing. Can't hear that?
All right, y'all just got to share the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, just shit. Yeah.
Palmer, just grab them. I need everybody to get involved in this.
Yeah, you know.
We've been waiting a long time to get him here.
Can we touch on
Whatever.
I got you. You go in there.
Let me see your list right there. No, right there.
This? What are we doing about the kids here? The teenagers?
Hit on that.
Okay.
That's,
All right,
that's part of that whole miseducation
All
thing.
right.
But my question, before y'all hit on that,
I
because I know
want to
that's
talk
going to be
about
long,
my
but that's
church.
going
No,
to
go ahead.
My church
is to
doing
talk
something.
about Kamala Harris's announcement that she's running for president.
Oh,
today.
excellent.
All right, why don't you start with that
Excellent.
first? When we come back, Jay will bring in Jay,
Excellent.
and you can go ahead and run with that, and then I'll come somewhere along the line
Excellent.
and talk about other things. Whenever
Excellent.
Jay is ready, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah, man. Yeah, buddy. I'm doing like 2-3 jobs tonight. It's normally not like this. It's
No matter what it normally like.
I got a phone call coming in. Maybe if their number pop up, we can tell who it is.
This call is being recorded.
Why is that?
Whenever you're ready, Troy.
We can bring it in.
Good evening, and welcome back to Acres of Diamonds here on Facebook Live. Also, I was about to say here on Acres
I
of
know. It's all
If
good.
you're joining us now on the timeforanawakening.com platform, if you're joining us on the Black Talk Radio Network.com, ourradionetwork.com, Time for an Awakening, we thank you. Telephone numbers is 215-490-9832. Once again, 215-490-9832. We got our brother in the studio with us, and we having a real conversation. And when we put the flyer out a number of weeks ago, we said that we wanted to talk about the state of Black America, where we are as Black folks. And with everything going on with SNAP about to be taken away from people, and the whole welfare thing and the shutdown with 45 got the government on lock. And I didn't even realize this today until I saw someone, and they said, yo, you know, even the Secret Service, even the dudes that ride around with him are not getting paid.
Nope.
Now, what's your thoughts on this? Because I know everybody's got questions.
Day
in that
31.
for you. What's your thoughts on this very quickly on
31 of the
the
show.
Orange Man and everything that he's doing? And it's like he's got the attitude now like, I'm taking my ball and I'm rolling out.
Well, number one, I think that Donald Trump is using strategy. The Congress is predominantly Democrat now. So although this lockout hurts the Republicans because he's the CEO, in many respects, it's going to also hurt the Democrats significantly because they run the House. You see, so this is just a strategy to hurt their credibility amongst working class people. But larger than that, I consider this a distraction. Nothing that matters is normally on the news. This is a distraction from other things that America is working on, the one white supremacy world order and other things like that. This is just a temporary distraction. They'll get it together. They can't let it get but so bad because it'll hurt people at election time. With that being said, though, it is within the design of the New World Order to bring about a social catastrophe in America and globally, because America is one of the only places that hasn't had a social catastrophe, okay? And they need to bring that about in order to justify the international police coming in, and that is a forerunner to the One World Order, which is basically bringing the entire planet under one government, one military, one banking system, one incarceration system. So America is one of the last pieces that needs to fit into that puzzle. The United Kingdom is also one of those last pieces that need to fit into that puzzle as well. So it is relevant, but at the same time, it's a distraction as well. But I think he's largely doing it to hurt the reputation of the Democratic Party.
Wow.
So you think that martial law is on the way?
President Barack Obama signed more martial law executive orders than any president in American history. There was no need to do that just to do it. It's coming.
There's a reason for it.
It's coming.
Brother, I gotta
Stop giving your guns back. Go buy some more.
Say that one more
Stop
time.
giving your guns back. You better go buy some more, because God forbid, when this situation comes, and I hope it doesn't come in our lifetime, but it likely will,
Right.
you can not only arm yourself, you're going to have to arm your whole block. You're going to have to arm your own block, because what's going to happen is the para-racist groups that live up in the mountains, the hillbillies of Pennsylvania, hillbillies of Virginia, hillbillies of New Jersey, they're going to be deputized by the government to come on in and kill black folks. They did it in Hurricane Katrina. You had police and you had paramilitary groups, civilians who have been deputized to take life. They were literally going through New Orleans assassinating black folks.
Wow.
That's deep. Brother, I got a question to ask you. First of all, it's like an honor for me to be sitting in the same studio with you.
Oh, the honor's mine, black man.
Right.
Honor's mine.
I'm a follower of your work, and I greatly admire what you do. It's a blessing, brother, and I say continue to do what you
Thank
do.
you.
Know what I'm
Thank
saying,
you.
brother?
Yes, sir.
Today, I wanted to ask you, what was your thoughts on Kamala Harris, the United States Senator, coming out and announcing her presidency for the United States? When she announced it, the first thing I thought about was, because I'm a great follower of Dr. Amos Wilson also.
Yes, sir.
And he spoke on compensatory fantasies that black people suffer from.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? And I was fooled once, you know what I mean, by voting for Barack Obama as president. And to me, looking at his presidency, Barack Obama, contextually, voting for Kamala Harris would be like doing the same thing.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It'll be
So
worse.
if you can touch on that, bro, and what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Excellent question. Whenever you studying the white power structure, you want to look at the timing, the technique, and the tactic. The timing around Dr. King's Earth Day, so that you can cloak this announcement in the disguise of being some sort of a civil rights continuation of where Dr. King left off. But make no mistake, we already anticipated the rise of the biracial politician, okay? See, the biracial African, and I do consider them African unless they don't agree with us. If you don't identify with your race, I don't want nothing to do with you. You understand? But other than that, for those who are biracial, they have no control over how they come into this world. And they're going to be treated as black, whether they like it or not. So as long as they're willing to identify with the rest of us, I see them no different as you and I. Okay. However, historically, that population within our group has always been used against us systematically. I'm not saying that all biracials are sellouts, because I got friends who are. I got heroes who are. Some of the greatest Pan-Africanists of all time were mixed race. That's not the point. The point is, systematically, the power structure depends on biracial Africans because they already have a natural, God-given split loyalty at birth. Now, when I look at Kamala Harris, I see a biracial woman with a white husband. Show me who you love, and I show you who you are. So right there, that automatically tells me she has nothing, no interest whatsoever in helping black folks. I can almost guarantee you she's hostile to black males because she damn sure didn't marry one. You understand? And going even further, see, her agenda is going to be to further the feminist movement, okay, the anti-black male movement, okay, but with her being a so-called minority, it'll look like she's serving all the constituencies within the community, but she's only looking at the feminist constituency, you see. And so I would not support her presidency at all because it's nothing but white supremacy and blackface. One of the things that racism did in the 21st century, Y2K, it reinvented itself. And it reinvented itself with 3 new faces. One face was the LGBTQ movement. Another face was the feminist movement. Another face was the multicultural movement. Okay, those would be the 3. LGBT, multiculturalism, and feminism.
Right.
Those are the 3 new faces of racism. So you look at Kevin Hart. They snatched him from the Oscars, right? They found an old tweet from 10 years ago and used that to snatch him from the Oscars. But as Nick Cannon pointed out, there was other whites who made comments similar to Kevin Hart. They were not ostracized or labeled at all because it had nothing to do with homosexuality.
Right.
It was a weapon against the black male. You see what they did with Bill Cosby. 40 ugly old white women all wake up at the same time and say he harassed me 20, 30, 40 years ago. First of all, you're not going to wait to destroy the most successful, popular black man in entertainment at that time.
Right.
He was on top of the world.
Yes.
You wait till he's no longer on top of the world to come out with it? Y'all were set up to do that. Okay? The crime was destroying a successful black man. But the tactic was to make it look like he was the perpetrator, not the victim. So this is what they're going to be doing going on now. Now they're snatching all these black men out of prominence with what? Me Too.
Yeah, right,
you
right,
see?
right.
Or you either offended women, you offended gays, you offended the multicultural thrust of American society, which is nothing but an illusion. You see, so that's going to be the new thing. Making the victim look like he caused the crime. That's the new racism. So Kamala Harris is going to be worse than Barack Obama. Worse! Because she's a female. You see, so whereas Barack Obama was a male, he clearly hoodwinked, bamboozled, and ignored black people's agenda. He took care of everybody but us. Can't nobody name one law Barack Obama put in place that primarily benefited blacks. But I can name you 3 that exclusively benefited gays. I can name you 2 that exclusively benefited immigrants. I can name you 1 that specifically
And
targeted
why is
women.
that? Why is that?
Because
I mean, I heard you speak on these three components before, and that they're kind of to pull away from the black man.
Yes.
Now, where I agree with you, not that it matters, but where I agree with you is the fact that the black, I see it, I know it. I grew up with mostly black men, and I see how our society, or the society that governs us, is taking black men basically by the scrotum and snatching them down the best way that is possible. However, as a woman, there's a different struggle that we have as black women, and I don't believe that any black man can speak for my struggle, being raped before, being ostracized before, being pitted against black men, white women, black white men, and I think that the black struggle is in and of itself. But as a black woman, me speaking for the things that I go through, I don't think you can really do that.
Nor do I want to. I think you should speak it, but you speak for those black women's issues under the larger umbrella of black people's issues. So black elders can speak to their issues, black teens can speak to the issues, black women can speak to the issues. The issue with the black feminist is, first of all, you're using a white woman's paradigm for your struggle. That's number one, okay? But then the second issue is you're linking up with white women who have never historically been an ally to black females. When you go back to the slave plantation, guess who the black woman's number one enemy was? The white wife of the slave master. Because
he was after her.
Yes.
Of course.
It was the white woman that made him sell your babies away. It was the white woman that made him whip you until you died to show you he didn't have any affection for you. The white woman doesn't care about the black woman, but she will use, as my brother just said, imagination and emotion to make you think she gives a damn. And black people have only benefited white struggles in one way, providing with the numbers that they need to gain the momentum necessary to carry their agenda. We're being used by the LGBTQ. That is a white racist movement. We're being used by feminists. That is a white racist movement. We're being used by the multiculturalists. That is a white racist movement. So I'm not saying the black woman doesn't speak for herself. You should, but do it as black women and not as colorblind females.
What are your thoughts on what's going on as it relates to Hollywood? And I want to...
I'll give you one right now. R. Kelly.
R. Kelly.
I didn't know if you wanted to talk about it.
No,
I know
Go
he
for it.
listen, as someone who works in the schools, as a school psychologist, my doctorate is clinical psychology, I got into this field to help children. For me, there's no statute of limitations on child molestation or pedophilia. You understand? I don't care if you did it last week or 50 years ago, you should be held accountable for it. I want to say that out front.
Yes.
However, going back to the three new faces of racism, feminism, LGBTQism, and multiculturalism, okay, arts and entertainment or whatever channel put this on, they don't give a damn about black kids, black women, black men, black people. This was done for three reasons. Because first of all, most of the crimes he committed are old. They happened. So why wasn't it done back then?
Right.
All of you in the video, why didn't y'all expose R. Kelly back then? You know why y'all didn't expose him? Because y'all thought y'all was going to get something out of this. The sickness of the R. Kelly show is the fact that everyone on the show was an accomplice to the crime. So my question to them would be, when they lock him up, because you love kids all of a sudden, but you didn't at that time, are you acceptable being named as an accomplice and being sentenced to prison time yourself?
Exactly.
Every parent, every woman, all of you are guilty. And my issue with the black feminists is they want to separate R. Kelly away from the system in which he existed. This was not a one-man operation. This was a system of people that preyed on children or allowed them to be preyed on and did nothing as long as they were getting what they expected out of the situation. That's not justice. The only reason why you exposing them now is because you didn't get what you wanted. If you would have became a big pop star, we wouldn't even be hearing about the kids who allegedly were molested. And the only reason why I'm saying allegedly, because everybody got a right to tell their story. And until I see both sides and see the evidence and see everything else, I can't say who's guilty, who's not. But the way this is being done, this is nothing more than a test run by white power to see if we can get the black community on our side. Either way the black community goes, we will benefit. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. Let's say the black community says R. Kelly needs to go to jail. He's a pedophile and we do not accept pedophilia. The white power structure says good.
Right.
Black people are willing to let us destroy their own. So then, any black man we want to take down in America,
who is not guilty of R. Kelly's crimes. We'll just paint them as pedophiles because it's been so sensationalized in the media that we could take out 24 more prominent black men who are not guilty because we got the black community to align themselves with the same criminal injustice system that's been destroying a community for hundreds of years. Now, let's say we go the other route and say, let's protect R. Kelly, okay? Because he's a hero and he's a successful black man and we ain't gonna let the white man get him. Then the white community says, great, we still got him. Because since they want to protect the pedophile, when the American Psychiatric Association normalizes pedophilia in the next 10 years, the black community can't say nothing because y'all said y'all wanted R. Kelly to be exempt. So if R. Kelly can be exempt as an alleged pedophile, so can all other pedophiles. Because there's a movement in this country by rich white males who want to normalize sex with children. So if the black community protects allegedly someone who committed pedophilia acts, then they automatically are supporting the movement for the normalization of pedophilia. So the question becomes, if we lose either way we go, how do we win? And you win by bringing justice to your own community, not going to white folks and asking the same people who committed more injustice against you than anybody in history to administer justice. You don't go to the rapist and say, can you try him for rape? You don't go to the thief and say, can you try him for stealing? You don't go to the abuser and say, can you try him for abusing? The white man is in no moral position to judge any black person for their crimes. We should be judging them ourselves.
Man, I'm scared to ask you about the other. Well, they brought up charges against the other guy. What's his name?
Which one?
Kevin
Spacey?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but did you hear what Kevin Spacey said?
What did he say?
And mind you, Kevin Spacey didn't get an R. Kelly show.
No, he didn't. He's been quiet.
How about
No, and he's not going to, because did you hear what he said? Kevin Spacey said on TV, if I go down, I'm taking the whole Hollywood pedophile ring with me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, he won't get a show.
He said it on national TV.
But he should.
It's that one.
What's
Oh my
wrong with
God.
that?
Oh, but they don't want the whole ring to go down because when they start pulling these pedophile strings, I'm telling you,
But that's all
most
Hollywood is.
CEOs of the music houses, most CEOs of the studios, do you realize, I read an article that said over 75% of all child actors since 1970 were molested
Yes, that's true.
in Hollywood.
That's true.
There's documentaries on them. Pedophilia is a Hollywood institution. So Kevin Spacey came out like a gangster and said, if y'all want to play that, I'm going to pull all the strings. And guess who else going to fall out some of them strings? Some of your most recent U.S. presidents.
But is that surprising, though? I mean, it's corrupt.
See, here's my thing. If we're going to go after this, go after it systematically and institutionally. I'm not going to make you the fall guy for drug dealing. I'm not going to make him the fall guy for breaking in cars. I'm not going to make R. Kelly the fall guy for pedophilia. This is a system that has been maintained and protected and bred in American culture for hundreds of years. Do you know that every major white male father of psychology, okay, most of them did not oppose sex with kids? Nor did they oppose same sex. Yes, read Sigmund Freud. Read Alfred Adler. Read it. So this is nothing foreign to their culture. I'm not saying all white folks support it because they don't. There's a lot of white groups who are against the LGBT and they're against the pedophilia movement. But what I'm saying is the origin of this abomination, okay, has its roots in Greco-Roman culture. You can't find me no African civilization in the history of the world where being married to somebody of the same sex was acceptable or where having sex with a baby was acceptable. The punishment was death. And still is in most African countries. That's why they sent Barack Obama over to Liberia and they sent Barack Obama over to Tanzania, and Barack Obama threatened the presidents of sovereign African nations that if you don't legalize homosexuality, we will stop your funding. Why does the president of the United States care about whether or not gay people could get married in Africa? For two reasons. Number one is population control. Who's the number one supporter of gay marriage in America? Planned Parenthood. Is that a coincidence? The same organization that birthed the birth control movement, the abortion clinics, is the number one supporter of gay marriage. Why? Because two gay women can't reproduce. Two gay men can't reproduce. And why do they want it in the public schools? Why did Barack Obama approve this in the schools? It's because if I can get to the kids at 5, if I can get to them at 10, if I can get to them at 15, I can homosexualize everybody through conditioning, because as we taught in psychology, as a man is taught, so is his thoughts. They engineering this at the highest level and at the lowest level. So the question becomes, when are black people going to stand up and say, this is not who we are? See, homosexuals is telling us, this is who we are. The European Jews, this is who we are. And the feminists, this is who we are. When do we stand up and tell the world, this is who the hell we are? When we going to stand? We need a backbone.
Well, you have so many.
Fire.
You have so
Fire.
many people, though, that is not going to say just that. And then my question is, how do we collectively work together? That's not realistic right now.
What is it?
So black people, who are black people? Black people are straight people that believe in what? What are black people? Black people are who? That believe in what? So you're gonna take the black LGBT community and move them over to the side? How we're still gonna be segregated. We're still gonna be marginalized.
No. I'm going to.
Who
I
are black
agree,
people? When you say
but I want to
black
qualify.
people, when you say black people, who are they?
We all know who black.
No, I'm
You
not
can
saying
see
how
us.
we look, because you're talking about a group of people when we stand up and say who we are, but you're going to separate us right at the question, because everybody's not going to agree with what you're saying.
And let me
Who
be
is
clear.
black?
You're correct. You're correct. And let me qualify. Let me clarify my position. I am not looking for a utopian black struggle. Everybody's not coming along for this march.
There is a black struggle, period.
But let
no matter if you agree or
me
not.
finish this.
Right.
Well, there is no black struggle right now. We're doing nothing but accepting the white power structure's agenda. But my point is, I'm not looking for everybody to struggle with me. A black man married to a white woman, I don't want him. A radical black feminist who think the black man is her enemy and can't see that racism is the enemy, I don't want to struggle with her. Homosexuals and multiculturalists, I don't want them, because they're useless to where I'm going. I don't believe in a utopia queen. I'm not trying to bring everybody. So when somebody says, well, you're going to lose the gays, you're going to lose the radical black feminists, you're going to lose all the black men with white wives, good. Because that's not what I'm fighting for. I'm not willing to die for gay sex. I'm not dying for radical white feminism. I'm not dying for a colorblind society. I am dying for the liberation of African people. Period, point blank, end of story. I don't want everyone, because everyone can't go where I'm trying to take us.
We got a phone call. What we're going to do, we're going to go to the phone line. We got a phone call coming in. Caller, good evening and welcome to the show. Good evening. Hello. Lost him? Okay. You know, one of my concerns was that, do you think that our brother Mumia will get a fair trial this time around?
No, I don't. But we must fight for justice. Regardless. None of us knows the outcome of none of this. None of us knows the outcome of any of this. Okay? If you watched the game last night, it looked like Kansas City had New England.
Right.
Brady had to go 100 yards in what, 2 minutes? People said it's over. Till old Rusty Gronkowski caught that pass on the sideline and changed the whole game. Now, the referees gave him some help with some of them calls too. But nonetheless, you never know the outcome of your work. The final decision rests with the Lord. The final decision of all things rests with the Lord. And that's why we got to keep our faith. We can't quit. Because you never know. Dr. King didn't know that civil rights bill would go through. He didn't know the Voting Rights Act would go through. Do you know 200 years you had black people saying we'll never get out of slavery? If you say we can end this, they would have laughed in your face. But look at us now. Not totally free, but freer than we were. Although there's really no such thing as degrees of freedom. It's an absolute. But nonetheless, you get the point that I'm making. You see, so, for me, it's about coming together, to your point, Queen, because it was an excellent point. We don't come together necessarily under shared identity. You know why? Because you got Moors, you got Nawapians, you got Nation of Islam, you got God and Earth, you got Socialists, you got Pan-African.
50 people.
But hear me.
You're cool with that.
I'm cool with that.
You cool with 50
First of all, I'm not going to have 50 people.
I'm
not gonna have 50 people.
I'm not
But-
saying that, but I'm saying we're not alike.
But remember this, we have far more in common than we have apart. Okay? And one of the things we can't do, see, when y'all over-exaggerate the differences of black folks, you play into the disorganization agenda of the white power structure. Listen,
You're
hold
playing
on.
to it.
No, let me finish
You're playing to it because
Queen.
you separating us.
Separating who? The gays?
The
You're
black
worried about the
people.
gays. No, I'm not separating black folks. Anybody can come, but you got to have certain criteria.
What?
Nobody
Those are
joins.
Those are your
Exactly. And that's why I have my organization.
Okay.
And in Team Pan African, it's going to be my way.
Okay,
500
let's-
people.
No, it's going to be millions.
Let's go back to the phone line. Let's get to the
But
call.
I didn't
this
make
way.
my point. I got to make this point. White folks, you got Italians, you got Anglo-Saxons, you got the French, you got the Austrian, you got the Norwegian, the Greeks, the Romans. Guess what? They don't all get along at all. I work with white folks. The Italians think they better than the Irish think they better than the Italians, the Jews think they better than everybody. They fight like cats and dogs. But when it comes to the collective agenda of white folks, there is a time out called and they get it together.
Yes.
I was in China. Guess what? Indochina think they better than China. China think they better than the Japanese. The Japanese think they better than the Vietnamese. But when it comes to the best interests of the Asian people, they come together. You see the same thing with the Arabs. They know that they got differences, but they never let the differences keep them from fighting for the collective best interest of the race.
Yes.
We're the only people who want to make a million excuses as to why we can't do anything. We're so different. Nah, I don't.
Wait. Time out.
I'm saying the
Time out.
same thing.
Let's go to the phone line. Let's go to the phone line. We don't want to lose this call.
Go ahead,
We need
go
the
ahead,
call.
go ahead.
Welcome to the show. You're on the line with Dr. Umar Johnson. Hello. Good. How you doing? Okay.
Peace and love, black man.
You asking somebody who's not gay?
Say that again, Queen. What'd you say?
No, go
Wait,
ahead.
No, what was it? No, Queen. What did you say, Queen?
The caller had a call asking if
I
you're
want
born
to hear
gay.
his question.
No, I got the question, but what was the comment?
What you
Speak, Queen.
I speak.
What did you say?
brother.
What did you say?
I said, how you gonna ask a man who's not gay if a person is born gay?
Okay, first I'm gonna deal with that logic. That's like saying
It's not logic.
no.
Okay.
That's like saying you got to be a drug. You must have been a drug addict to treat people on drugs.
Right.
You must have committed crime in order to reform
You
criminals.
can be born gay.
Right.
Do you believe that?
Of course not. But guess what? It's not a belief. Can I ask you a question? Did you read the 1974 American Psychiatric Association position paper on the normalization of homosexuality? I recommend you read it because in the paper they were crystal clear that there's no evidence that shows people.
In
Oh,
1974.
and now let me take you up to 2005. The American Psychiatric Association put out a position statement and they reaffirmed what was said in 74 that at present we don't have no proof that people are born gay. Now, speaking to me as a 20-year school psychologist and doctor of clinical psychology, 85% of all black males I've met in my life who have been homosexual, whether I knew them, whether I treated them in therapy, were sexually abused before the age of 14. I know how this comes into our community. And most of it comes through childhood molestation. And that's another reason why I take a big issue with the feminist movement and the LBGT movement, because I don't see either one of those movements doing anything about pedophilia of children.
So how do you stop someone from being gay?
Well, wait. Time out. Let's not go into how we stop.
Because if it's-
No,
That's gonna be a long conversation.
No. We ain't going to go into that. No. Because we don't. No. We don't.
We want to talk about some community.
Exactly. Because we don't want an agenda item
Right.
from the white power structure to dictate this conversation.
No.
But I do want to
Right.
say this to you.
Yes, please.
You prevent black children from becoming gay and lesbian the same way you prevent them from becoming pedophiles. Because pedophiles begin as children. They do not begin as adults. They begin as 7, 8, and 9. You know how you do that? By providing them with a loving, nurturing family house. The number one risk factor, and I want everybody to hear me, the number one risk factor for being a pedophile or becoming homosexual in the black community is not having your emotional needs met. Psychological abuse is the number one risk factor for that. So all we got to do is do our job as black men and black women and raise our kids the right way, and that'll disappear on its own.
Watch them. You gotta watch them.
Well, you got to pick
If
your...
I'm taking care of the foster kids, and you gotta watch them and make sure uncles that's
Well,
talking a whole
the
bunch of
foster care
things
system,
that they're not
the
hitting their kids.
foster care system is a major player in the international child sex ring. It is
All
a
I
major
know-
player.
All I know
A
is what you
major
gotta do
player.
is watch the kids.
I agree with that.
Watch the kids.
But
So
you-
everybody
did
was
we-
preaching they straight, ain't
Did
straight.
we lose the
and they
caller?
raping kids.
Did we lose the call? Okay.
Yeah, we lost.
We lost the call.
What we
Okay.
got next?
Telephone number, if anyone wants to call
We
in,
moving off that gate thing. Let's do one.
215-490-9832.
We getting off of that. We unapologetically African black man with black woman, and anything else is an abomination.
That's that fire, man.
It's
If you
getting,
yell it, that'll make it true.
it's getting
Prove
hot.
me wrong. Prove me wrong. The facts is the
The
facts.
facts is
The
the
facts is the facts.
Separating while you're bringing everybody.
Then guess what? Some separation may be necessary for victory.
Just prove your point.
Show me a revolution where every member of the culture was a part of it. Show me one.
I have none.
Was they all in the Russian Revolution?
Nobody ever
Was they all in the
agreed.
Chinese
Nobody
Revolution?
ever all agreed.
All right.
Nobody.
Time out. Time out,
I'm
family.
kidding.
No,
No.
nobody ever
Time out,
all
family.
agreed.
No. I love
Okay.
my sister. We just having fun, yo.
That's
We
right.
just having
That's
fun.
right. And,
We gonna take a break?
this is what we do here. This is what we do here. Let's keep it going. It's 10 after 7. 10 after 7. You know, Dr. Umar, I'm always thinking about when law enforcement officers
Yes.
shoot black men.
Yes.
Okay. Just the other day, we had a shooting. We had a shooting that took place here, and
Sorry about that.
we had a shooting the other day. The older gentleman was 61 years old. He did not die, but he has a bullet lodged in his face. 4 to 5 black men did this after they went into his pocket and took the last $20 bill that he had. The last gentleman put the gun to his face and pulled the trigger. Now, we can always talk about, you know, the law enforcement officers, black and white, and Latinos that are killing black men. And I think someone said to me once, well, black officers in law enforcement should know better because they're trained, and this is not something they should do. But something that goes overlooked, I believe, in the community. We don't talk enough about when black men are killing other black men. Where's the
agree.
protest for that? Where's the Black Lives Matters at
Is that
for
the
that?
white man's fault?
I agree. Excellent question. Let's deal with this black on black crime. Couple facts right from the gate. Let's deal with those police officers.
Okay.
Some people would say you cannot blame white folks for this because black men did it. But they did it in the name of white supremacy.
Yes.
It's not the individual's right to choose, it's the institution that dictates behavior. Why does a black teacher in the public school send your child to special ed when nothing was wrong with him? Are white folks off the hook? Hell no, because it was white folks who created the culture. It was white folks who created the system. It was white folks who created the atmosphere. So the black cop that shoots a black man is carrying out the orders of the white power structure. Deal with the institution, not the individuals. Now, black on black crime, a big problem. We should be protesting that. That is a major contradiction in the black struggle. However, we must clarify a few things. Most black on black crime, as someone who works in the prisons, okay, works with black males, most of it is politically and economically generated. Let's go back 80 years. Who was the drug dealers and the gangsters? Italians, Irish, Jews. Right here in South Philly, they was gang banging, killing each other, selling dope. Meyer Lansky wasn't an African. Bugsy Siegel wasn't an African. Lucky Luciano wasn't an African. Al Capone wasn't an African. They did the same thing our boys are doing. You know what the difference is? The United States government in 1940 decided to make Irish, Jews, and Italians white folks. Before 1940, they were not white folks. And then guess what they did after they made them white? And guess what they did after they made them white? Well, you had other immigrants, but they were still whites because they were Anglo-Saxons. What they did was they gave the Irish the police departments. They gave the Italians the fire departments. And they gave the Jews the civil service, center city jobs, city hall, that they still control to this day. And the courts, they gave them an economic stimulus package. You want to stop black on black crime? You can cut at least 40% of it out overnight. Give these brothers who are fighting and killing each other over turf territory and drugs a livable wage job with benefits so they can raise their children. Whenever we have conversations on black crime, why we never hear anything about economic opportunity? They never talk economics when they talk black men. It's all about we gotta create more prisons, and maybe we're not tough enough on crime, or maybe they need some help, maybe they need some therapy. We don't give a damn about no band-aids. We want a solution, and the solution is economic empowerment. What's the first job of a man? To protect and provide. The protect part, we can do better on that, but some of us can do that. But to be able to provide,
That's where black men are hurting because a lot of us are not given that opportunity to provide for our families. That creates the stress that indirectly leads to the murder. Let me give you an example. He's in a Chinese store tonight. I just got fired from my job. I just got fired after 30 years. They laid me off. I walk into the Chinese store. He look at me the wrong way. What the F you looking at? Guess what? He ain't got a job looking for one. He mad at the same thing I'm mad at. 3 babies, 3 child supports, whatever the case is. We get into a fight, I'll kill him. The headlines will say another black man murdered a black man in South Philly in the Chinese store, probably fighting over a blunt. They don't know the real reason we got into that scuffle is because both of us are suffering the same oppression, economic castration.
Yes.
Well, how do we make it better though? Because
I'll tell you how you make it better.
We're in 2019 now, and
Problems don't change just because the time is rolling, bro.
No, you're right. You're right. But I'm seeing homes in this area that I can't even afford, and I see that
Black bourgeoisie
we getting moved
has
out of
aided
here.
the Caucasian in removing blacks out of all the major inner cities in America. It ain't just Philly. They doing it in Harlem, D.C. You can go to certain cities now. They even starting to work on Atlanta, believe it or not, Black Chocolate City. Okay, it was D.C., now it's Atlanta, but this was a national movement. Guess when they decided to do it? Y2K. It was in the year 2000 that they decided that they was going to go back to the inner cities and take them back. And why did they want to come back to the inner cities in the first place? They never wanted to leave. Why did white folks run away from the inner city? Because after the Dr. King era, integration, housing and urban development, they had to let us in. So white folks ran to the suburbs because part of the burden of being white is always looking like you're better than black folks. So they had to run away to live their own private life. And then guess what the black bourgeoisie did? Followed the white folks out to, because we love white folks.
They went back to the city.
So they said if these Negroes love us this much, that no matter where we go, they're going to follow us,
Right.
we might as well go to hell back home. And that's why when a lot of white people moved out in the 60s, they never sold their property. They just became landlords, but they never relinquished their control because they knew one day they were going to come back home. Listen, don't no white person want to sit in traffic for 90 minutes going to an Eagles game. Don't no white person want to sit in traffic for 2 hours going to a Sixers game. It is convenient to live Susquehanna Avenue.
Yes.
It is convenient to live on Girard Avenue. It is convenient to live on Allegheny Avenue. 3 stops from downtown, 8 stops from the sports complex. White folks is like, we paying all this money to live in the suburbs. It is so inconvenient to get to the culture of Philadelphia and to the sports complex. So they said, why don't we swap?
Right.
So that's why Donald Trump put the coon from Baltimore, housing and urban development.
Oh.
Ben Carson.
Ben Carson.
Ben Coon Carson.
I did not call him.
I called
did.
him. I called him.
That's what it
I
is.
called him that.
That's what
I
it is.
said it.
I'm not calling
Ben,
any black
I'm
man
calling it.
He's a coon.
He's a
He's
coon.
a coon. I'm sorry.
Listen.
Let's keep it up.
No. We love the queen.
No, I can't handle all of this.
Respect
I
that.
don't care.
No.
Troy, please.
No.
You know who you married.
All hell the
This
queen.
is making
No.
me
No.
feel
No. We're
But
not
I'm
getting
talking about as it relates to Ben Carson. Has he sold out
Of
black
course.
Yes.
Listen,
on,
Donald
man.
Trump.
Yes.
Donald Trump put Ben Carson in charge of housing and urban development so that he could facilitate.
that makes him a coon.
Yes, but that also
If
makes
he's doing
Barack
that,
Obama
He's a coon. He's a coon. He sold us out.
But that also
I
makes.
didn't say he didn't sell it.
But that
I
also-
said stop all that.
But there's a
But
name
that
for
also-
him, though. There's a name.
There's a name.
Yeah,
Coons
but-
are
all right, we
coons.
got
How you gonna change it if you can't?
Defend me.
You can't change it if you can't claim it. One of the things we got to stop doing is being afraid to be unapologetic about our reality. We are in a desperation state. This is a state of emergency. We ain't got time to be worried about nobody's feelings. I can give a damn what a Negro think about me. Shame the devil
That
and
is
tell the truth.
obvious.
Shame the devil and call.
What we gonna
Hold
do?
on.
You know we love you. We got the queen in the building. We gonna love you anyway.
There you
Respect
go.
me.
There you go.
No.
Exactly.
Part of being a black man, I got to put you on a pedestal even if you say don't do it.
That's right.
No, I'm on a pedestal.
There she is.
What we're gonna do? We're gonna take a break, a much needed break, so everybody can stretch their legs and get some water. You're listening and watching Acres of Diamonds. We're gonna take a break and we'll be right back.
I would never say don't put me on a pedestal. I love every second of it.
It's good.
Every
Ben Carson is a coon.
Yeah.
But if he's a coon, so is Obama. They both did the same thing. What's the difference between Barack Obama and Clarence Thomas? Nothing. And Ben Condoleezza? Nothing.
You can depend on. Based in West
Let's come back and let's touch on the.
We still ain't do school to prison pipeline.
That's what I want to come back to.
Let's deal with special ed and ADHD in Philadelphia.
ADHD.
We ain't got to spend a lot of time on it, but let's hit it. And we could go wherever else. But hit that because you got parents.
You said something. I was like, we gotta talk about ADHD.
Ain't no daddy at home disorder.
It's
Artificial
bull
diet
crap.
at home
And I don't know
disorder.
what you talk. Well, even
What's
though
bull
I get
crap?
where you're
What's
coming
bull crap?
from, I said I get where you're coming
I got the
from.
receipts.
I ain't say that.
Anybody need water? Anybody
What
need
I'm
water?
saying,
I got one.
is I know because we work with children with ADHD, and we're like,
Well, you a foster parent. Y'all got it really hard.
We're giving them
'Cause it's hard for foster parents to say no.
All they need is just to be turned around.
Yes.
And just
Go right out that
Exactly.
door
That's
and
it.
make.
And that's
Right
why
there.
I'm opening the school. I agree with you.
Yeah, where you
You're
going
absolutely
at?
right.
You got a lot of haters on this school situation.
Well, but see, that's only because the haters get the attention. For every hater I got a million supporters.
Oh, I know what I'm
They
talking
irrelevant.
about. I ain't gonna tell you.
And that's why none of them allowed in the school when it opens anyway. You coons ain't coming in. I'm gonna have a whole hater list.
You just seem like you got this. You got this. This is
What?
what drove me
Yeah,
crazy
talk
about
to
you
me.
when I first saw your stuff. I'm like, you got this separatist.
It
but
ain't separatist.
Togetherness.
It's righteousness. Righteousness.
Nobody righteous, brother.
What did Jesus say? Did Jesus say he came for everybody? He said, I came for those in the house of Israel.
He did.
Ain't nobody trying to say. Did Moses save everybody? No. Moses say the
Let me
Negroes.
get one more.
I get it. I get
You
it.
feel me?
I know. I get it.
But
No,
let
I
me
don't
tell you
feel it,
this,
but
though.
I get it. I
I
get
got-
what you mean.
There's members of the LBGT who support my work. Oh my gosh, they send me emails and everything. They
Yeah,
say,
those are
listen,
the ones that
Doc.
said I was raped and that's how I got this way.
But not only that, they'll say, listen, Doc, I never heard you say you wanted to bring harm to me. I never heard you say you wanted to stop me from living or
Right.
being. You understand?
Right. Yeah.
And they'll even say, I agree with you.
You should say that.
This should not be
You should say that.
well,
You should say
when the
that.
time is right. Because
No,
I'm going to have a
sir.
gay
No,
black
sir,
forum.
say,
Uh-uh.
I knew it. I knew
What?
it. You should say that, sir.
I do say something.
Because you got people.
But they can't say it in the
like-
out because they don't want to get
Let's
lynched
y'all.
by the
Let's get ready to come
LBGT.
back. Let's get ready to come back.
No, I say it a lot
Tell
though.
the truth.
Hold up, Troy. Don't bring it back yet.
Oh.
But I'm having
They
gay
never
black
asked me to be on the
conversation.
show if they don't want me to be passionate. I'm not afraid. I've been like
Passion
this
is
since I was
spirit. You
born.
got to be passionate.
I was like this. I don't.
Be passionate. Let it out.
Jihad, once you talk about that, can you talk about the court system too? With
Oh,
especially
man.
we were the juvenile court system,
Oh man.
as far as
Oh man.
these kids being sent to.
Talk about it. Bring it up.
I'm saying,
So you know what? Yeah. Let's do school to prison. Then we can segue. However y'all want to segue.
Good evening, and welcome back to Acres of Diamonds.
Fire!
With Harvard. He just changed the name. The name was Acres of Fire.
Acres of fire. I'm a Leo. This is a lion talking to you.
That's why.
This Garvey.
That's why. Wait a minute. When your birthday?
August 21st, the same day as Nat Turner.
That's why. 'cause
Same
I
day
got
as the
a
George
Leo.
Jackson. Same
I
day as
got
the
a Leo.
Haitian Revolution. Same day as the birth of Christ.
Okay.
8 Deuce 1.
Listen. A lot of people are inboxing me and they're putting
What?
they're putting posts on Facebook Live, and they're saying that we need to touch more, not globally, and what's happening and
What, locally?
we need to talk about locally. We need
School
to talk
to
about
prison.
a lot of the problems that's taking place in here. Somebody just put up, we're not laughing about, any of the killings.
Nah,
out
we ain't
here.
laughing.
And, there,
Nah,
in-
it's
in-
serious
in-
stuff.
In this room, you have 3 people that are involved in law enforcement. So we see it on a total different level.
Yes.
We may not be out there on the forefront marching, and I've done some marching throughout the years, but I don't want anybody to think that we're here, we're laughing, we joke. This is a very serious
it's serious.
conversation,
Nobody- no.
and we felt the need to bring some humor
Yes.
into the room.
Yes. Which is
because
necessary to change the energy.
Change the energy,
You have to have
okay?
humor.
So we're very concerned about the Okay, callers, we're going to get to you. I know we got callers. We're very concerned about what's happening in the streets. We're very concerned about in the street. You are out on the front line. You have thousands and thousands of fans on social media. Supporters.
I'm not an entertainer.
You have a platform that many of us in this room do not have. And what advice can you give, because there are shootings and there are young people that are listening, that are watching tonight. We had a young brother that was from the Islamic community that was just killed, shot in the face up in Albany. I know another young brother that was killed senselessly, murdered. Very good friend. I watched him grow up. I watched his family raise him. Never got in trouble that I knew of. We just buried this young brother. We just literally buried him this past summer. So, what can we say?
So we know systematically with the economics and the politics of crime, we know that when jobs are up, crime is down. When jobs are down, crime is up. But now you're saying, let's look at the black community. I'll roll in this, and I'll tell you what it is very emphatically. Black men have allowed the youth to break code in the community. I have never seen this. Black men, those of us 40 and over, 30s too, but more so 40 and over, because they clearly recognize us as the OGs. We have allowed our sons and nephews and cousins and next door neighbors to get so far out of hand with this violence that we now afraid of them. I want to be clear about something. As long as the youth know that the elders are scared of them, this won't stop. And I want to say this very, very decisively. Globally, Philly, wherever you at, because it's global, whatever you see in Philly, you see around the world. It's a Pan-African issue. But nonetheless, until black men take the streets back, it will always remain the Wild Wild West.
Right.
We have to literally go to the streets in droves and say, brothers, it's a new day. Hand out a new paper. These are the new rules. It's a phone number. Somebody threaten you, call this number.
Right.
You know what I mean? Somebody, gang violence, you call this number. And we got brothers who ain't funded by white folks. White folks, they got nothing to do with this. This is grassroots black men solving their own issues. And if we take the streets back, we can end this in 6 months.
Can we take our streets back?
Yes, we can.
Can we as a people?
But here's the problem.
Collectively?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Here's the problem. You got two issues with taking the streets back. There's a lot of people who make money by pimping black pain in poverty projects.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
Black poverty is a $1 billion industry.
Yes.
If you solve the black on black crime, a lot of people going to be out of work.
Yes.
You know how many prisons will shut down if we stop the violence? You know how many probation officers would be out of jobs? How many halfway houses wouldn't exist? You know how many federal grant dollars would be discontinued if we stop this? Why do you think when the Black Panther Party of the 60s intervened directly in the cocaine epidemic, guess who they had to fight the most? The police!
Yes.
For stopping the drugs. The Panthers had to fight the cops because the job of the police is not to stop drug dealing, but to contain it so it doesn't go into neighborhoods where it's not wanted. So we can't drive ourselves on this. The white power structure is counting on the violence to continue because it justifies the marginalization and premature extermination of black males. But let me say this last point.
Go ahead.
Like with my conversation with the Queen. Everybody's not coming for the party. I'm saying that to say this. I've never taken a life, God forbid. I hope I never have to. But if we're going to take them streets back, we got to admit something. I'm talking as a psychologist. Some of our young men, we've let them go so far for so long, they're no good to no damn body. There's people walking these streets where we're going to have to put to sleep. In other words, you might have to create violence to end it. It will be a cataclysmic altercation between black men and some of our youth. Most of our youth, we can get them. But there's some of them, they ain't going without a fight. And they're going to have to be put to bed. It's a shame. It ain't their fault. You understand? But you have a population of unreachables. The white man wants us to think they all unreachables. 90% are reachable. 10%, we're going to have a civil war with them. And that's facts. Don't give your guns back. Buy some more.
So you're saying that the black Christians, the black Muslims, the Nation of Islam, the Sunnis, the black Israelites,
everybody,
there has to be a collective agenda to come together to approach these guys out on the street.
Yes.
That's
face to face. Yes. There's no masculinity involved. It's all conversations in the safety of these rooms. How are we gonna stop the violence? Then you got to get in their face. You see what I'm saying? So yes, there got to be a collective and we got to go to the streets, and I'm all for that. It's the only way to do it. But here's the other problem you're gonna have, though, Jahid. You got to make sure that every black man in this movement isn't a double agent for the gangsters. Because you're going to have some brothers who only in it
to let them know what our next move is.
Yes.
And that's dangerous because that can cause lives and casualties. So as you recruit, you got to make sure you got the right folks, because some of us are only going to be here to let the other side know what we're doing. Like I said, some of us are so far gone, we're going to have to be put to sleep.
I think too, in doing so,
There you go, brother.
on that point, Dr. Umar, I think I'm with you on your point, but I also think it has to be a collective effort in conjunction with that to supply our youth
With opportunities.
jobs.
Opportunity, yes, my
A
brother.
lot of these
I'm glad
brothers
you
out
said that.
here
I'm glad you
in the
said that,
street,
yes.
They want to work.
Yes.
They want to support.
Give
their
'em a
family.
chance.
They're not bad dudes.
Nah,
I
they
talk
good
to them all the
dudes.
time.
Listen.
You know what I mean?
You know how many emails I got from brothers who say, Doc, listen, I got 5 kids, but I work for minimum wage.
Right.
I just don't want to go to the corner.
Right.
But if I come in that house one more time and see my queen and my 5 babies and I ain't got nothing for them, I'm going to have to go to the corner. And that's why when they talk about this violence and stuff, it ain't because we born this way.
Right.
It's created out of the social constructs under which we live.
Yes,
This
yes.
You can make a violent community out of anybody. They did it to the Irish, they did it to the Italians, they did it to the Jews, they even did it to the Chinese at once upon in time. But here's where the black community is complicit, man. Look what Philadelphia spends on Christmas.
Right.
Black Philly spends $3 billion.
Right.
Not million, but billion every Christmas. With that type of money, you could give every brother a job.
Yes.
Why our kids ain't got our own schools? Used to have Frederick Douglass Hospital right there here on Lombard Street. Black-owned hospital in Philly, Frederick Douglass. No more black hospitals in Philly. We used to have 2.
Right.
We ain't got no factories. We ain't got no distribution. Where the hell is our Walmart? Because we damn sure don't need theirs.
Right.
You see, so we have to be willing to become more responsible with our economics. And we have to be willing to put our people before our own personal, useless, agendas.
Can you speak to the black politics in conjunction with that? Because we got a lot of people, black people in politics.
Oh, they
It
useless.
seems-
They useless.
Speak to that.
They useless. They useless. Listen,
I agree with that.
I respect everybody in Philadelphia City Hall, but let's just be honest. The blacks who currently occupy that have done nothing systematically to improve the quality of life of black folks in Philadelphia. Now, Jahid spoke earlier about, being in law enforcement and seeing this on a whole nother level. People often ask me, what do you want the black bourgeoisie to do for you? Because we can't do everything. Yes, we sold out. Yes, we there. But guess what? If we try to pull away from it, they'll kill us. So, Dr. Umar, what can the black bourgeoisie do to help? We can't be on the front lines with you, brother, but I want to do something because I don't want to die having been a total coon my whole life. You know what the black bourgeoisie can do? Provide us with the information. You ain't got to do nothing. If he let me know what they about to do, that's far more powerful than him being on the front lines with me. You understand? If Council President Clark said, listen, Dr. Umar, they're about to take these blocks back. Get the black people together. Tell them to buy as much of them houses as they can because the white folks is coming. That's all I need them to do. They ain't got to be out front with the Nat Turner hoodie. Let me know what my enemy's next steps are so we can plan and prevent them from taking that. The problem with the black bourgeoisie, they're not giving us the intelligence. The white man has a spy in every black organization. Why? To bring back the intelligence. The art of war is knowing what your enemy gonna do before he do it and taking care of that before he get there. We have nobody amongst the black intelligentsia feeding the grassroots with information as relates to the white man's agenda. Listen, the real estate takeover, that was planned 10 years before they started it. Not a single black politician made a move. And speaking of black politicians, I don't vote for no black politician unless they can answer 3 questions. Question number 1, are you an independent candidate? If you're Democrat, you're Republican, I don't vote for you at all. Why? Because if you're Democrat or Republican, you're first of all obligated to the agenda of the Democratic and Republican Party. 2 white racist organizations who don't give a damn about black folks. Okay, that's number 1. So if you're not independent, you're not getting my vote because you're going to do whatever the Democrats tell you to do like a good old boy because they're the ones who funded your campaign, which is my next question. I want a complete list of your campaign funders.
Hold on for a second,
Hold
caller.
on, caller. Hold on. We coming to you.
Complete list of your campaign funders. That's number 2, right? And then number 3, what do you do?
Do it again, because I was distracted.
Got you. So the first one, are you independent? I don't vote for Democrats and Republicans. You got to be independent because if you're not an independent candidate, you're not an independent thinker.
Right.
I want independent thinkers. I don't want no slaves to the Democrats and Republicans. Number 2, give me a complete list of all your campaign funders. Anybody who has donated more than $5,000 to you, I need to know who they are because the hand that pays is the hand that rules. Number 3, what are you going to do to give black people a major share of the economic pie in the city of Philadelphia? City of Philadelphia does billions of dollars of business. This is a national treasure because this is where the white supremacist fathers created that damn Constitution. You understand? So much money comes in here. What are you doing to make sure we get our fair share of the economic pie of Philadelphia? Because if you ain't growing, not small black business, I don't want to hear a damn thing about no small black business. I want medium and large black businesses. What are you doing to grow them? And the last question I'm going to have for them, what are you doing to improve the schools and put more black men inside? Because the number one thing that black boys need in the school district of Philadelphia is black male teachers, black male principals. I'm not talking about no gym teachers, and I'm not talking about no lunchtime aides, no bus attendants, and no hallway monitors. They need to see black men as leaders, teachers, and principals. And if you ain't got a black male plan for the school district, you don't get my vote.
Well, seeing that you mentioned school, let's talk about school. Let's talk about school, and let's also talk about the whole special education as it exists.
Yes.
I have a child, and throughout the years, they labeled him special ed.
What's his classification? Learning disability?
Learning disability, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And throughout the years, they gave him service, and some of the services that they gave, I was not happy with. So I found myself going back down to the school, showing my behind and telling them, I know what my rights are and I know what you have to give him. And if you cannot provide it for him, you have to send him to another school on your dime.
That's right.
So they made the correction. Can you talk about how they entrap our kids and they give us this label of special education, then they want to give us the medication?
Excellent point. Precursor to that. There's 6 cycles in the school to prison pipeline. 6 cycles of death, 6 stages of black male extermination. Miseducation. They deliberately miseducate the black boy from preschool to 3rd grade. It is not by accident. It's not because of poverty. It's not because of gangster rap. They do it on purpose. And the reason they do it on purpose is they have to make sure that the black boy can never challenge the white boy for political economic control. The black boy must fail. Then there's special ed, where they come with all these crazy labels. He's retarded. He's autistic. He's reading disabled. He's math disabled. He's mentally retarded. He's this. He's that. He's this. Most of these labels can't be proven, by the way. Let me be clear. You cannot prove a learning disability. Let me be clear. You cannot prove ADHD. Let me be clear. You cannot prove mild intellectual disability. No, you cannot. They are ideas. They are not facts. So then they special educate your kid with all these labels, and then they move on to psychiatric medication. Adderall, Concerta, Ritalin, Vyvanse, Strattera, which is nothing but synthesized cocaine. So then the question becomes, how is a society that says it got a war on drugs that's locking up black men by the millions for nonviolent drug sales, but you giving the same dope that locked his daddy up to his son so he can sit still long enough to learn about Christopher Columbus? And then when the drugs don't kill your black boy's masculinity, because by the way, the enemy is masculinity. The enemy is being an unapologetically African alpha male. Let me say it again. America's #1 fear is not Al-Qaeda, and it's not the Taliban, and it's not the president of North Korea. America's #1 threat is the rising up of unapologetically African alpha males who ain't afraid to die for the liberation of their people. That's the #1 threat in this country. So then once the dope doesn't kill the black boy, then it's juvenile incarceration. And by the way, Philadelphia is one of the top cities in America for the incarceration of youth under the age of 21 years old. And guess what I was told? By a judge. This was a New Jersey judge, because I did my pre-doctoral internship in New Jersey. But guess what she told me? Philly, Jersey, it's all the same. She said, Dr. Umar, the #1 referral source for new juvenile cases is not the cops. It's the schools. She said the schools have passed the cops as the #1 source of new juvenile inmates. So when we say school to prison,
Right.
I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
Because when they brought the street cops into the schools. So your son gets into a fight. Before there was any street cops, guess what? He break it up, I break it up, 2-day suspension, after school, I might make y'all shake hands, right? But now you got a street cop in there. So now he can take jurisdiction over that fight and charge that boy with a crime. We should have never let the street cops into the public schools, because now they are criminalizing all the boys. You got kids walking around in handcuffs. I've seen it.
I've seen it myself.
Yes. Something small like that. I'll give you something else. You know how they set the concrete in the yard? And you know the kids like to take the stick and they play in it?
Right.
Right. You might get a suspension for that. Effacing school property. But if the street cop catch it, now you're doing damage to city property. You see? Now it becomes a felony offense almost where you're juvenile, but it can get you some time.
Right.
So now that you got, so basically wherever you got street cops in the school, I want to be clear about this. The street cops take jurisdiction over the school principal. The street cop can tell the principal, that's mine's now. So the principal is damn near a flunky and a servant in their own school as a result of the street cops.
Wow.
Deep.
This is how bad it is. So when we say school to prison, we literally mean that. If a black boy can't read, by the time he finishes the 5th grade, there's a 75% chance he will spend at least some of his adulthood in prison. Reading. 75% of special ed is reading. When you go into any prison, ask them brothers what level they can read on. It's less than the 5th grade. And some of them have diplomas. Wait a minute. You have a diploma, but you can't read. That means you were socially promoted every year through school just to get rid of you. And I'm going to tell you what the culprit is. Lazy parents and racist white teachers. Lazy black parents and racist white teachers. Until we deal with the lazy black parents and racist white teachers, we'll never fix this. It's both of their faults. They work together against the black male child.
So it's almost like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Because if you got a lazy parent and you got
A teacher who don't care,
teacher who don't care, you got the police in the school.
he's a lifetime criminal waiting to happen. He's a
wait.
lifetime criminal waiting to happen. But to the parent, okay, here's where I want to implicate black males. Because as you know, Queen, most of our kids are raised by single moms.
That's right.
And every time something goes wrong with the kids, everybody want to blame the single moms. I don't blame the single moms because they're doing a good enough job. They're doing the best they can. Where are the black men stepping up to help our single mothers raise these boys? I don't see enough Christians. I don't see enough Muslims. I don't see enough professionals. I don't see enough community-based groups. I was speaking with a reverend whose name I'm not going to call. I said, Rev, why your church ain't doing more to help the single moms with their sons? All them black men you got in your church, every one of them should have 2 boys they responsible for, even if they got their own. You know what he said?
What's that?
We got to find some funding. What the hell you need money? And you supposed to be a servant of the Lord. You need money to help her with her son? Is that how bad we've gotten where we got to be paid? Where would we be if Harriet Tubman said, where my check at? Where would we be if Dr. King said, where my check at? Where would we be if Malcolm, Muhammad, Garvey, if any of them said, how much am I going to get paid for risking my life to save you Negroes? If Harriet Tubman was waiting for a paycheck, we'd still be in chains.
So what are some of the things that these parents need to know as it relates to special ed? Because there's a lot of labels, and a child just may not know, it might be dyslexic. Now they're saying
Right.
special ed, can't read.
Right.
So when I went to school, they gave you a label. You were
Okay.
LD.
I'm going to run it off. I'm gonna run it.
That was the only label.
That was the only label.
Right.
And you knew them because
Special ed.
they was in a small class, and everybody walked by and laughed at
And
them.
they still are. The only difference is if they're in a charter school. Charter schools are not required to have self-contained special ed classes. So if your son is a learning disabled student in a charter school, instead of being self-contained, he's mainstreamed into the regular
Yeah, I was
class.
about to say they have
But,
it. It's
but,
not the same.
right, but I like the mainstreaming because most of the kids ain't got nothing wrong with them in the first place. But if they have a real disability, a real one, let's say your child is autistic and he's moderately intellectually delayed, he might need a separate class. So then the charter school ain't serving him because this is a boy who does need to be pulled out. So although I largely agree with the charter school approach to special ed, it doesn't work for kids with real problems. If your child is deaf, they need to be at the deaf school.
Right.
If your child is blind, he need to be at the Overbrook School for the Blind. And I used to be the school psychologist there, as a matter of fact. But my point is, each child's supposed to be taken based on their individual case. But that's not what Philadelphia doing. That ain't what these charter schools is doing. These charter schools are saying, in order to save money, I'm putting them there. In order to save money, I'm putting them there. And that's why you can walk into an intellectually disabled class and see an autistic kid in there. Why is an autistic kid in a retarded class?
Right.
He ain't retarded. You know why? They're banking that the black parent don't care enough about the kid to even visit the class
Right.
to see that the child is misplaced, because if they separate him out, they got to pay a teacher just for that one kid, because you can't mix autism with that unless you can justify it. So what the school district of Philadelphia is doing, and charter schools, they're mixing disabilities to save money. And the only reason why they ain't been exposed is because most black parents could care less about it.
They don't know either.
Oh, a lot of them don't know.
They
Well, let
don't
me
know.
say this. I'm glad y'all brought this up. Two things. Number one, another organization I have under the Team Pan-African umbrella is the National Independent Black Parent Association. I want everybody on the show to hear this. This is important. Whether you live in Philadelphia or wherever you live, everybody in Instagram and Facebook world, y'all need to know this. The next training will be in Philadelphia. And it's probably going to be at the African American United Fund building off of Broad and Susquehanna, across from the Uptown Theater. It's probably going to be in March.
Oh, okay.
It's an invitation conference for everybody to come to get trained by me to lead a chapter of this much needed organization. This is a solution. Could you imagine what we could do in Philadelphia if every black parent was organized? You understand? Together, we could have jobs for our kids. And you know what else we need to do in Philadelphia and everywhere else? We need to force them to put the trade skill building programs back in the high schools. Where's the electric shop?
What kind
Where's
of
the
trade?
carpentry?
Yeah, I wanna hear.
Where's the auto? Where's the welding? They took them out in the 70s. It was part of the war against black males. It was the deindustrialization of inner city. They took the trades out, and then they dropped the crack off in the 90s. And then Bill Clinton hit us with the crime bill in 1994. And then George Bush came with the faith-based initiative in 2000. And then Barack Obama came with the LBGT bomb in 2008. Every president keep on hitting us with another jab because, like you said, they use our hope and our emotion against us.
Yes.
Black people are so gullible to anybody who says we are for you. The only thing that's going to save black folks is black folks, and I want everybody to come to my conference because I want to build this organization. We've never organized black parents on a national level. We've never organized black parents on that. I want to do that and take them to the United States Department of Education and say, listen, we want teachers charged with crimes if they refer a kid for special ed who ain't got nothing wrong with him. We want the principal charged with a crime if he signs off on putting the kid in special ed for ADHD when he know nothing wrong with that boy. We got to make the educators responsible for the crimes that they commit, because if there was no crimes in the school, there'd never be none on the street. And then for any parent out there who needs to reach me, if you got an issue with your child and you need help, give them my number. You can text me, 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. You got any issue, IEP, mentally gifted, reading disability, autism, deafness, blindness, speech and language, I am your school psychologist. Hit Dr. Umar up. But this is why I'm building the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. I want a school where black boys come to school to learn one thing, power.
Yes.
How to get it and how to keep it and how to protect it. And we raising alpha males in there. Ain't gonna be no LBGT pills in there. Ain't gonna be no Me Too pills. We raising alpha males for our daughters. That's the purpose of the Frederick
So it's
Douglass
just
Marcus.
black males.
The conference
just
that
for
you're
boys.
having, is there a fee for the conference?
Yes, they will have to register. They can go to drumarjohnson.com, drumarjohnson.com, or they can text message me at 215-989-9858.
Yeah, I know we got a caller.
Sure.
Okay, let's try to jump to some of these calls.
Sure.
We have 12 minutes left.
Caller, you there?
Good evening, welcome to the show. Please keep it nice and short and sweet. Good evening.
Hold on.
Next. Yes, sir.
All right.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, that was you? Hey, that's my man. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing? Give me a quick minute. A quick 30-second question for Dr. Umar.
Yes.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you,
Appreciate
man.
you.
Thank you.
We love you. Much love.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And one quick point before you hit that next caller. Again, we wanted to remind everybody that Thursday, February the 14th, 201st Earth Day of the great Frederick Douglass. I will be going live from Facebook and Instagram simultaneously to announce the location of the first of hopefully several Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academies. That's the 14th. 3 days later, on Sunday, February the 17th, I will be making my debut lecture in the Bronx, New York, Boogie Down Bronx. I've been all over New York City, but I've never been to the Bronx. Dr. Umar will be speaking in the Bronx at St. Helena's Church, 1315 Olmsted Avenue, St. Helena's in the Bronx, 5 o'clock, Sunday, February 17th. Be there.
Next question. Next caller.
Caller, you there?
Wait, Sam, how are you, brother? My main man. It's my main man. Wasim from Jersey.
I greet you and I welcome you again. I don't have a question. I encourage my brother Umar for the great work that he's doing and standing up. And I hope and pray that one day he keeps his resiliency against the powers within and the powers without of our community. And I don't say that speak back up in him one day again. I bet you that it's going to.
I remember you. Hit me up, black man. I remember you. Call me. Take my
Wasim,
number.
what I'll do,
Call me.
I'll give you his number. You want to give it out on air?
Yeah, 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. Shoot me a text. Especially Camden. Yeah. No doubt. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Thank you, Brother Wasim. It's my man. He gave me a ride back from New York the other night. I was stuck. I was stranded. Next question. Caller. I keep saying question. Next caller. That's it?
No, we got one more.
Okay, one more. You were the last one. You're with Dr. Umar Johnson. Welcome to the show. Hello?
Caller, you there?
Okay, that's good. Don't worry about it. Yeah, a lot of people have said negative things about you. They put out negative posts about you. You know, you were going on an ongoing battle with, I'm not even going to mention his name, but it was an ongoing battle, man. And, people have been coming at your neck, about the money that was raised for the school. When is the school going to open? So you have the date selected that you're going to make this major announcement. And I think by, you saying that, you'll be able to put to bed and put to rest many of the naysayers that say that, because our people, man, and I was really hurt by a lot of the comments that our people, black people, were making about you personally. And I'm like, this is a personal friend of mine. And they were attacking you, brother. And I felt bad for the attacks. And, I'm happy that you stood your ground and you realize that the mission that you're on, it's bigger than, what these people are talking about. You had some people who came on Facebook Live tonight and they said that you could perhaps do more to get your, the men that follow you, that listen to you, that come to your lectures, you could give them more of a charge to go out into the streets to do more. Maybe you should talk about this more at your lectures. What thoughts do you have on
I'm already doing that in many respects. But I will say this, though. If there's anything that has held me back from being more aggressive with my agenda to liberate our people, it has been not having a home. And what I mean by not having a home, because the school is so central to my life and work, I needed to know where it was going to be before I could really dig in and start building up around it. You know what I mean? So now that we have the school, I can now start digging in and getting some of the things done that I wanted to get done. But the National Independent Black Parent Association, we've been rolling. Team Pan-African, we've been rolling. Even before Team Pan-African, I grew up in the UNIA. We've been rolling. So my whole life I've been about work. And I don't say this to be arrogant at all. But if you can name another black professional who is not attached to an existing institution, who has done more to save black children in America, not just Philly, in America, without money, free, I want to know their name.
I want to know their name. Nobody has done more to educate black parents about the perils of special ed, ADHD, psychiatric med, IEP, learning disability, from a historical perspective. And Amos Wilson was the greatest black psychologist we ever had and the greatest black scholar. I want to make that clear. But let me say this. After Amos, but Amos wasn't a school psych. I'm a school psych, right?
Right.
No psychologist in African American history has done more to change the game as it relates to special ed and ADHD than Dr. Umar. Nobody living, nobody deceased.
I mean, they've come after you. They've come after your name. They came after your degree. They said your degree wasn't real, that you wasn't a real doctor. They said all kind of things, man.
Well, listen, I was on Roland Martin and we dealt with that.
I remember.
And listen, I'm going to say it again. I don't like putting out the name of the school I graduated from. 2 reasons. I don't approve of them and they don't approve of me. So why mention them? You follow what I'm saying? Now, if I went to Howard or something, I'd be blessed. I'm HU. I went to a white school. Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. Anybody can call the registrar's office to ask them if I graduated. I mean, it's not a hard thing to find out if the man got a degree. You pick up the phone, you call 215-871, I forget the last 4 digits, and just say, did Umar Johnson graduate from here? Why is that a conspiracy when one phone call will end it? It's because these Negroes ain't doing this because of the truth. They're doing it because of hatred. Right. They're not after the facts, they're after the hate. But February 14th, we shutting it all down.
Will you be doing any lectures here in Philadelphia platform?
Yes.
I mean, you're traveling all over.
Yes. No. Listen, I owe Philly. But I gotta find a space. If somebody know of a space that can hold 300, I tried to. You got a space? Where?
That before.
Where?
Offline, I'll tell you.
All right.
I got a
All right, then we can do Philly then.
Yeah, right in South Philly.
Okay.
Right in South Philly, state of the art place. We good, man. You got to tell me when you want.
All right.
So give me a date, and we on it. Let everybody know how they can reach you, how they can contact you.
You want to take one more question or no?
The caller still there, Troy?
I still got a call, yeah.
Okay, let's go to this call. Good evening, welcome to the show. You're the last caller of the night.
Call. They're there, but maybe something wrong with their phone.
Something wrong with your phone. 215-490-9832. 215-490-9832. You can be the last caller tonight with Dr. Umar. Go ahead. Talk to us.
Nope.
Well, I just want to say, man, it's definitely, you and I go back a long way. They there?
Yeah, we got another.
Okay, let's go to them.
Can you hear me, caller? Caller?
Don't worry about it. They have to inbox them. DM them.
There you go.
That's like DM. That's what the young people say. This show has been it's been lit. It's been fire, right?
Ooh,
That's what the people say.
We gonna do a part 2.
Wait a minute. What do we say, Kendall? Come here, Kendall.
What's the word? What's the word for something that's
You
hot?
ain't afraid. You ain't afraid of being my daughter. You better say it. What they say, baby?
Y'all can say lit.
Lit?
Say lit.
Okay,
All
when
right.
you're over, I was about to say 40.
You're over 40.
When you're over 35, it's lit. Our guest has been Dr. Umar Johnson, and this was a long-awaited interview. Everybody knows that I had him on Islam Today, but we wanted to have a platform. We didn't have to worry about religious, police, and scholars, Muslims and Christians critiquing what was said or what we played or some of his thoughts or some of my viewpoints. So we're so happy, and we got to do a part 2.
Of course. Let's do it next month, Black History Month, February. Well, March, that's up to y'all.
Y'all hear that? Now, y'all, my word. His word is bond, brother.
Yes, sir.
Word is bond.
You never heard that?
Bond. I heard it.
Word is bond. We say that all the time.
Yeah, my word is bond.
I got you.
Okay. It's been a really great show. I want to thank everybody who called in and everybody who tuned in on the TuneIn Radio app and everybody who tuned in via Facebook Live. Very great show.
Yes.
The last 2 minutes of the show, brother.
Yes,
Mic
sir.
is yours.
You want to reach Dr. Umar, drumarjohnson.com. Also, 215-989-9858. Don't forget, February 14th, FDMG announcement. February 17th, we're in the Boogie Down Bronx for the first time. St. Helena's Church, 1315 Olmsted Avenue, 5 o'clock. All children and elders is free. Everyone else, get your tickets. drumarjohnson.com. Coming at you one time. Good Garvey Day. Pan-Africanism or perish.
Now you see what I did for you. I took the Garvey picture
Oh,
from out of there
Yeah.
Yes,
a
sir.
month ago. You see
You gotta
that?
take up it right there.
You see that picture?
Exactly.
I put your main man in. You're
Yes,
a
sir.
descendant of Garvey
See,
or
it was
Douglas?
Douglas.
Okay.
Not a descendant, a kinsman.
A kinsman.
Yes.
Explain that to the people.
Okay, If you've ever read Frederick Douglass's narrative of the life, he talks about growing up on Tuckahoe Creek with cousin Steve.
Okay.
Cousin Stephen, his cousin,
Right.
Stephen, is my 4 times great-grandfather.
4 times.
4 times. Who's buried in Eastern Shore, Maryland. I go visit his grave every birthday, every summer still there.
Today was Dr. King's, wasn't the original day,
Right.
but this is the day that
Yes, that they celebrated.
made-
Yes.
they celebrate.
33rd.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Dr. King was the most significant black leader from an integrationist perspective since Frederick Douglass. In many respects, Frederick Douglass fought for what? The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But it was never guaranteed until 100 years later. That was 1865. But it took it took King 1965. The Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Bill to validate the work of Douglass 100 years ago.
Right.
So when I look at my work, I've got to validate King from 50 years ago and Garvey 100 years ago. You feel me?
Now, what about Malcolm, man? How come they overlook Malcolm?
I don't overlook Malcolm,
Some people
but I
do.
think one of the reasons Malcolm gets overlooked because unfortunately he was never allowed to do the work he was sent here to do.
Okay.
If had Malcolm been allowed to live, he may have been one of the greatest in terms of actual accomplishment because whereas King was local and practical, Malcolm was visionary and international. Malcolm was going to finish Garvey's work the way King finished
Now,
Douglas.
I want to close on this. The man, in my humble opinion, that has been written out of black history, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
I don't know. Let me tell you why I say that. Most history books that I look in,
Right.
he's in them. Garvey not, but Mr. Muhammad is in them. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That doesn't mean he's getting his just due, though.
I don't think Elijah Muhammad's getting his just due.
He may not be getting his just due. He may not be getting his just due, but he made it in. He's in there.
Okay.
He's in there.
Okay. Real quick before we go, tell everybody how they can get in contact. One last time.
215-989-9858 or the 800 number 844-4 Dr. Umar. That's 844-4 DRUMAR. February 14th, February 17th, Bronx, New York. I'm coming. Boogie down, Bronx.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Wait, where you going to be at next?
The Bronx is my next joint.
That's your next joint. the
Yeah,
Bronx.
yeah. Sunday, February 17th, 5 o'clock, St. Helena's Church, 1315 Olmsted Avenue in the Bronx. First time in the Bronx.
Yes, sir.
I'm normally Brooklyn and Harlem, so this is
Right.
my first time in the
Well,
Bronx.
thank you, brother. I thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
for
I
being
enjoyed
with
it.
us. And we got to come up with
And shout out to the Queen and the Princess in the building, you know what I mean? We support the Queens. Yes, yes.
Everybody have a great week, and we will see you next week, God willing. Peace.
All right.
That was a good one.
Great show.
That was-
Great show. Great show.
Yeah,